All right, good Monday morning for the National Weather Service here in Raleigh, North Carolina. My name is James Morrow, and I'll be covering your routine Monday weekly briefing that covers just the central North Carolina area from today, February 10th, through the 16th, just a 1 week period. And the purpose of these is just give you an idea of what's going on weather-wise over the next 7 or so days. But if you are tuning in later with the recording of this, I highly recommend going to weather.gov/Raleigh for the latest weather information. As we all know, weather can change pretty rapidly, and some of this information may end up being a little old if you're tuning in 2 to 3 days down the line. So for the latest, go to weather.gov/Raleigh. All right, so we're still trying to dry out from last week's system, and unfortunately, I don't have the best of news when it comes to what we're expecting this week. The upcoming weather pattern continues to look wet, unfortunately. That starts really tonight as the next cold front begins to approach from the east. We actually have an ongoing cluster of showers and storms just to our north, and I was talking to our lead forecaster, and we're pretty confident those showers and storms are going to mainly stay to our south. However, there's another batch that's going to come through later on this afternoon and evening. Mainly into the overnight hours, actually. So through the day, yeah, we're going to have increasing clouds, maybe a few peaks of sun, especially across the east, but more cloudiness as we go into this evening. But tonight is when our chances of more stratiform rain really arrives across the western zones. And by tomorrow morning, I think most of the area is going to see at least some type of a light to moderate precipitation, with another band coming through later on the day that could get us some pretty good accumulations. We'll go over those here in a few minutes. We may have a quick break on Wednesday, but the next round and the next front comes through Wednesday night into Thursday, and that's going to bring some additional rainfall across the area. All liquid rain at this point, no real signs of winter, and we'll go over that as we go throughout the briefing here. But definitely going to be a pretty wet pattern that we're going to get stuck in even into the late week. We do have some high pressure that should remain mostly dry. That's going to filter in on Friday, maybe last throughout the day Saturday, but again on Sunday and late in the upcoming weekend, we're going to have another series of fronts that are going to try to push through and disrupt that quick reprieve from the persistent rainfall here. So just a quick overview, our best shot at widespread rainfall will be on Tuesday, tomorrow, and Thursday this week as a secondary front pushes in from the southwest. When it comes to severe thunderstorm potential, there's really only a low chance of even a rumble of thunder or two, most of that being across the far southwestern zones today, but most of that should remain well to our south. And another chance tomorrow. We actually are looking at high temperatures nearing 70 or surpassing 70 degrees in the southeast. Anytime you have that type of heating at the surface, you have a chance for maybe a rumble of thunder or two, but the severe threat remains really low at this time. So don't be surprised if you're in the Fayetteville area, maybe even Clinton, and you hear rumble thunder tomorrow. But for the most part, we're going to just hear just a rumble or two. You're not expecting too much in the way of strong to severe thunderstorms. However, one thing we are expecting is the chance of rainfall, and that begins as early as this evening and tonight across the western Piedmont zones. Tomorrow, you see that stripe of blue, and that blue is indicating maybe in half an inch or so falling across the central and northern Piedmont zones, and continuing into Wednesday, we're expecting that the higher amounts to remain to our west, but you still have a chance for some light precipitation across the east as well. Another batch comes through Thursday and Friday, maybe lasting into Saturday, but I think most of this rainfall is actually going to occur on Sunday afternoon and evening as the next batch of a storm system moves in from the Gulf Coast states and spreads east across central North Carolina. A quick look at the 7-day totals. We're expecting anywhere from 2 to 3 inches across the far western Piedmont and western Sandhills, 1 to 2 as you get in the I-85 corridor, and mainly less than 1 inches for I-95 in south and east. So it looks like once again our kind of quote unquote bullseye for highest precipitation amounts is going to be across the headwaters region, and with some already swollen creeks and streams and even area rivers, that could bode not so great news when it comes to trying to dry us out here in the next little while. Here's a quick overview. The only change that I would make here is the latest information. We no longer are in flood stage at Fayetteville. I'm sorry, I told you the wrong one here. We have a decreasing trend across some of the area rivers in the Neuse River at Smithfield, which isn't actually shown on the map, is no longer in flood stage, and it's going to continue dropping as we go today. And there's a good chance that we just went ahead and dropped that warning here. I hear the printer going on in the background, so you may have heard that live at this webinar. We do still have some ongoing flooding across much of the area. Fishing Creek near Enfield is starting to crest, and it's going to be on its way down here the next day or so. Tar River at Tarboro continues to go up. It's now in moderate flood stage. It is expected to crest right around 27, almost 28 feet on the February 12th here. So we have a couple more days of pretty significant flooding, moderate flood stage being reached at the Tar River at Tarboro. And also just getting into moderate flooding along the Neuse River near Goldsboro. So still trying to recover from this last rain system, and unfortunately we have a little bit more rain coming in, and that's where you're seeing these secondary bumps. You're not seeing as much of a bump as we saw earlier, and that's because we're just not expecting the same amount of accumulations that we've seen on the last several days. But you still are going to get another bump here, and it's going to be the grounds are pretty saturated, so it's not going to take much to have some localized streams starting to swell again with the next batch of rain. Especially if you get a half inch in an hour or two period, you may have some localized ponding of water or something of that nature. Unfortunately, I have some bad news when looking at the extended too. Looks like we're going to stay not only warmer than normal and pretty high confidence. Look at that, 50 to 60% chance of warmer than normal conditions, and a 33 to 40% chance of wetter than normal in the 6 to 10 day extended forecast period. And 8 to 14 isn't looking much prettier. Much higher confidence will be warmer than normal, and that's still 33 to almost 40% chance will be wetter than normal. So no real end in sight when it comes to the pretty wet pattern that we've been in, with every other day or so getting at least a shot at some precipitation. And also not great news for any winter lovers out there. We really haven't seen that big douse of winter yet, and at least the next 14 days or so, not looking entirely likely here in central North Carolina. Just a quick summary. Area rivers continue to run high thanks to recent rainfall. Most of that water is now venturing downstream, and it's going to be several days before some of the bigger basins can fully get down to normal levels. Persistently wet pattern will remain in place for most of the week, with the most widespread rainfall amounts of 1 to 3 inches expected on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. We should get drier as we head into next weekend, but more rain chances will persist into early next week and for the foreseeable future, at least in the next week to 2 week time period. If you're looking at some flood safety information, I've included a link here, but if you go to weather.gov/safety/flood, you can get some infographics and information that can go right into some flood safety information. And a quick look at temperature trends. We're going to be much warmer than normal, at least for the next several days. 65 degrees today, 68 on Tuesday across the area. We may take a dip on Wednesday just because of the pretty persistent cloud cover. We're going to be in a cold air damming type event with a lot of clouds in place. But then we get into Thursday and Friday, we have a chance to warm up, especially across the central and eastern zones. The northwestern zone, you're going to maybe have a little bit more cloud cover than this is advertised, and be a little bit more inside the rain. But we have pretty high confidence tonight and Tuesday, and again going into Thursday, that we're going to have a pretty wet pattern. At this point, I am going to go ahead and pause the conversation. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in to the questions bar there, and I'll get right to them.